Okay, so this here is an analysis, part one of the analysis of a roses pack. So to construct this pack, now I've actually pulled it apart, but this pack itself is quite interesting shape, and I'll just put it together now. Okay, so it comes up like this at the base, and then it goes into more of a triangle at the top, and it looks like that. Pretty cool, huh? All right, so this here is marketed towards a mid to a high socio-economic. Okay, and economically, this is marketed towards a medium to high. So let's open this up and we'll check things out. So let's start off with the elements of design, and then we'll stop and we'll do another version of this as principles of design. We'll go right through the whole process of this whole thing. Okay, so first of all, we have colour. And this here is a very expensive print. This here is an 8-colour print. Yes, 8-colour print. And the way you can actually see this is this, right? So when you want to find out how many colours are being used on a pack, you take it, you bring it all open, and usually in the tabs, you see these colours here. So you can see there's 6 colours there. However, the last 2 are not represented on this pack, but they're fairly obvious. Okay, so this is a CMYK print with 2 spot colours on there. Okay, so the spot colours are the Cadbury Purple, which is a trademarked colour. It's not a Pantone colour, it is actually their own formula spot colour. We also have colour Gold in there too. Okay, so that is the colours that are used. Now there's 2 other spot colours in this. All right, so if you look across the whole pack itself with the shimmer, this is a matte finish. Even though it looks kind of glossy, it's considered to be it's a semi-gloss, right? It's a semi-gloss coat on it. Okay, and I can tell that by looking at the use by date, because the use by date is not shiny at all. You can see that it does not shimmer. Okay, so therefore that is a spot colour that's been placed on this pack. The other spot colour is actually a gloss varnish. So it's a gloss spot colour on it. You can see that in the word roses, as well as the rose itself over here. Okay, as well as over here as well. Okay, everything else appears to be, part of the matte finish, the semi-gloss. Okay, so you can see that there, and this is, yes, a very expensive pack because they've actually printed on the inside as well. So you can see that. Okay, all right, so let's look at colour a little bit more. We have the colour purple and we have the colour gold. So if you see gold as being a bit more of a yellowy colour, if you look at the colour wheel, the colour purple is a complementary colour to that sort of yellowy gold colour. It's a complementary colour. They go well together. We've also got the use of red and purple, and red and purple are harmonious colours. They're very close to each other in the colour wheel, and they go together well. Okay. All right, so other things that we have here, other things of colour. We've got green, right, which represents mint. We've got this sort of rosy colour, which probably represents some other sort of flavour. And we have this one here, okay? So this one's a bit more of a gold colour in there. All right, so they just simply represent the flavours of the product itself. Green and purple go well together, being tertiary colours. Okay, tertiary colours are colours that are primary colours mixed into each other and forms a particular colour. Okay, so green is the combination of yellow and blue mixed in together. All right, so that's colour. Okay, purple means or stands for royalty. That's why Cadbury's uses the colour purple. They are the only chocolate company that can use this particular colour of purple, okay? And also red represents, in this case, it represents the colour of roses, right? And roses are seen to be a thing of a disposable income. People buy red roses, okay? It's more seen as a sign of a gift. All right. So and color typically also represents hot food and hunger. So that's another reason why they have the red color there as well. Okay, gold. Gold itself also very much reinforces the notion of royalty and high quality treats. Okay, so anytime a company uses gold, they use it quite sparingly, but nevertheless, it is considered to be of a top quality product. Okay, that's why you see some other companies actually use a lot of gold especially in their chocolate packaging. Okay, chocolate packaging and some coffees use that type of gold color a fair bit. Okay, so let's move on to onto form. So the pack itself uses a rectangular shape or a rectangular form with a sort of triangular structure at the top. Okay, it almost looks a little bit like a gable roof. Okay, it's a gable sort of feel. Okay, so that is itself form, and because it's a pack, it's a form. It also shows form on the surface graphics as well. So if you look here at the actual chocolates themselves, they are showing it's a three-dimensional form. Okay, so that is also showing a three-dimensionality to it. Okay, so that is called an organic form. Okay. All right, so let's move on to line. So where has line being used here? Line has been used in a few locations. Okay, line has been used in this leaf over here to represent the center of the stem of the leaf, for example. Line has also, you could probably also consider line to be within the typography as well of a ribbon, remembering that ribbons are considered to be like a treat. You know, it's a thing. It's a gift you give to people. Okay, so therefore they have used this. The roses themselves, the roses type represents some type of ribbon. They don't have to go through the expensive process of tying a ribbon around the thing. They just represent the roses type as being a ribbon. Okay, next up we have type. All right, so obviously we've gone through this type here. It's quite a cursive typeface. We have a swoosh over here through here, so this is considered to be a bit of a ligature in there. There's actually no actual terminator at the end, but you can see that this terminal looks quite nice going underneath the O, for example. Okay, and it's an alternating large, small, large, small, large. Okay, and you can see here that the kerning, the O's been brought in. Okay, so obviously if this wasn't kerned, then the O will be out here somewhere. So it's all been sort of more tightly tracked in as a whole, so it can fit onto the pack and can be nice and bold, nice and big on the pack. Okay. All right, same thing with the Cadbury. Cadbury logo itself is using more of this one's more of a decorative typeface, custom done for this logo, and it's obviously once more representing quality because the D and the B, the top of the D and the B looks like a crown. Okay, and it's also in gold. All right. Looking through here for type again, so I'm just going to zoom into this one here, and we'll focus again. Okay, so here we have type, and obviously we have legalities of type, which we'll go through in another video. Okay, so the type here is just legible here. Okay, and this would be, there's specific height, size, things we need to make sure that the type works well. That's legalities, we can get into that later on, but they are using a sans serif typeface so they can reduce the font size down as much as possible. Also makes the pack look like it's more modern, okay, to a little bit more of a younger audience. When I'm saying young, it's not for like teenagers. This is pitched towards people who are around about the ages of 22 right up to the ages of 90, for example. Okay, that's type. Okay, all right. And obviously they're using a typeface that is quite narrow so they can fit everything in. It's all been tracked in a fair bit as well, and the leading is very tight. Okay. All right. So let's move on to tone. So tone can really only be seen in the depiction of the chocolates themselves. Okay, so that's where the tone is, and it's showing off the form, and that's just the bell for the end of period. Okay, we have a staggered timetable at the moment due to COVID. All right, so you can see here that tone has been well used more so in this because this here has been. This is a photo actually of the items, but they have been photoshopped extensively to be made to be appearing perfect. Okay, so you can't see any blemishes. Things are like in brackets airbrushed. Okay, so they look like it's all nice, right? Okay, so next up we're going to get to. Have we gone through shape yet? Shape, we have a rectangular shape here. I'm just going to zoom out again. Okay, focus again. So shape, right? We have a rectangular shape here, utilizing all this surface space here to depict the brand, okay, and what the contents is, okay. And we've also got organic shapes, obviously, with the petals of the rose as well, okay. And we've also got shape here as well to emphasize the nutritional panel, which is quite important for people of mid to higher socioeconomic status because they're, funny enough, actually wanting to see how healthy their chocolates are, which is a bit of a contrast to what normal things are. Okay, so another interesting thing here too is that they have a rectangular part there of red because, and no other information in there because you barely see that in that sort of diamond shape when it's all being put in, the triangular shape that is. So they've chosen the color red so they can actually see that it's higher quality in there. Next up we have point. Do we have point in here? And yes, we do have point. Okay, so we have point used in here, right? So this kind of it could be represented as a few different things. So you might think, okay, so these here are distant lights, okay, it looks like it's sort of, shimmering in the distance. So it's a bit more of a decorative thing, okay, so it's a bit more of a decorative thing there. Okay. And we've also got the use of point as well can be seen in these flowers. So they are, it's not a normal way of saying point, but these could be considered to be point as well. So it's emphasizing little bits here and there, okay? Right, so, but this is the normal way of saying that it's their point. We don't have stippling going on in this though, and that would generally been seen as being using point. Okay, so next up we have texture. So where's texture in this? Is there texture? Yes, there is. Smooth texture on the pack. Okay, we've got texture itself is in the semi-gloss varnish, right? So it's a semi-gloss. It's a semi-smooth texture, and here we have a very high gloss texture as well in the printing side of things. Okay, so it's not just all in the graphic; it's also in the colours and finishes used as well. We've also here got texture in the chocolate bar itself, the texture of the nougat in there, as well as the texture in this wrapping as well. Okay, and texture can also be seen in these as well. It kind of represents some type of texture in the distance. Okay, it's really just to break up all the other stuff that's going on here. Okay, and to sort of balance it out. All right. So that there is the design elements. Let's move on to design principles. Okay, so design principles, we have, the first one we'll look at here is contrast. So obviously the first thing that contrasts here is that we have the colour purple and the colour red. They contrast not in a major way, but they do contrast here from the purple and the red. looking at other packs on the shelf, these colours are vastly different to the other pack colours. A lot of the other pack colours in this range, they use darker tones to show that they're higher quality, and they use gold and stuff like that too. So check out, the next time you go to Woolies or Coles, check out the chocolate package area, okay? And you'll see that the pack itself contrasts from others, right? And that actually is contrast, okay? But let's focus on the contrast on the pack itself. We have the colour purple and the colour gold. They contrast with each other in terms of colour. We've got the contrast between the semi-gloss finish and the gloss finish of the red. Okay. We've also got the contrast between imagery and flat tone. Okay, so that's a contrast as well. We've also got contrast between the white type and the purple. This here is very much white because they don't want this to be a major part of the pack, but it stands out. New allergens, see back of pack. So they're trying to tell you that there's a thing to look out for. And when you look on the other side of the pack, it says wheat may contain nuts. Okay, and that is in white. And that contrast is there for a reason. Same thing here with the legalities as well. Best before date. Contrast between the white background and the barcode is very important, so the scanners can actually pick it up as well. Right, so this is all done for a reason. Okay. All right, so let's move on to hierarchy. So let's look at hierarchy on this. The first thing you see depends on your point of view, right? What I normally see here is, because I'm an older clientele, and I know roses, right? It's like a social norm, okay? So I see roses first, and then I look at what type of chocolates they have, and geez, they look good, okay? So that's the first thing I see, and this is the second thing I see, for example. A person of a younger audience, because they're more into eating the chocolates, they would probably see a different hierarchy. They'll probably see, because these are almost the same size, okay? Right? So they'll probably see this as being the first thing they see, because they like to see chocolates more, for example, and then that's going to be the second one. A low hierarchy thing would be a delicious assortment of milk and dark chocolate. Okay, but you see this first, the new allergens first, because they don't get sued. Okay, so that's why that hierarchy is a little bit bigger than that one. Okay, it doesn't matter about the size of the type doesn't matter. It's actually how much it stands out. Okay, cool. This type here is smaller. It's lower in hierarchy. Okay, it's just all the legalities, right? If they had the option, they'll just delete all that. If they had a legal option to do it. So next up, we have cropping. So where is cropping on this? The rose itself is cropped from the front of the pack and wraps around the side of the pack. That is cropping over there. The end of the ribbon is cropped off into this red zone here. That is cropping. Cropping has been used, so this has been what is called in the industry called deep etching. This has been deep etched or isolated out from the background, which would have been made probably a white background, and has been placed onto the purple background as well. Okay, so that's cropping. Another thing too, interesting enough, which is on packaging, they crop off the colour here, so that glue can be stuck on a lot better. So glue doesn't really stick to printed areas that much. And why waste ink on stuff that's going to be glued down and not seen? So that's why they have that white as well, and they put all the other stuff in there. All right. What else do we have? We have scale. So where do we have scale in this? We have scale in here. Okay, and generally food packaging shows you the correct scale of the items, generally. And So these chocolates here are a little bit smaller than what you see in they're actually in the pack, because you get a nice surprise, I guess, at the end when you open it up and the item's a little bit bigger. All right, so you don't want to have these bigger and then the food items are smaller. That'll be a thing. That'll be a legal problem, which we can talk about later on. Next up, we have pattern. Okay, so pattern, is there pattern in here? No, there's no pattern in here, apart from the top here. And these have been laid out in a repeated, in repetition, so therefore it's pattern. So these are laid out. So these are the flavours here of the chocolates that are available. All right, so this here is not quite pattern, because this, I would consider this to be a little bit more of a textural thing, because these are not alternating or not repeated in a particular way. Okay, what do we have next? We have the use of figure ground. Okay, so figure ground. So the roses type is the figure and the purple is the ground. This is the figure and that is the ground. Okay. However, in this regard, white is the figure and this is the ground. The purple is the ground. So it depends on the way you are seeing it. We move across over to here. Okay. And even in this, even in the rose itself, we have the major petal part as being the figure, and the ground is represented as being the pointy sort of sections of the rose. Okay, so they've really simplified this rose down to its basic sort of shapes, and therefore those sort of jagged bits of a rose are considered to be just the ground. Okay. All right. So we also have this here too. The nutritional panel is the figure of the ground being the white. But if you look at the whole nutritional panel as a whole, this whole thing is the figure, and that is the ground. The purple's the ground. So it depends on in the way you are seeing it. Okay. Other things. Proportion. Okay, so everything here is in proportion. You have the chocolates there; they are all in correct proportion. They're in like a 1-to-1, like a 1-to-1 proportion, really. Being they're not distorted height or width ways. These are in proportion because I want to show things in proper proportion. Okay, so everything's all being represented properly. Okay. What else do we have? We've also got a balance. So is this a balanced layout here? And you could probably argue the point with this one, okay, because you've got this heaviness wrapping around here. It's a bit more of a swoosh going on. And I'd say this is a bit, and this is not a balanced, entirely balanced. Okay, they tried to make this balanced here by having those little dots there as well. But because this rose and this point is here, I'd say this is not balanced. Because if you delete this, and you delete the top bit, rose, this will be absolutely balanced in the center. Okay? So it's showing a bit more of a dynamic layout in this one. Okay? A bit more of an interest. It's making your eye go from here right across here. Okay? This one here is balanced. This is balanced as well because the nutritional panel offsets the roses logo. The type here is a two columns, and we have these two items here being balanced as well. So that there is the Allenson Principles design. Thank you for that one, and the next one up is other things.